Should you trail your stops when trading Forex? In today's video, we're going to talk about some of the pros, some of the cons about trailing your stops when a trade goes into your favor in the Forex market. Let's dive into this video right now. Hey traders, welcome back to the channel. If you don't know me already, my name is Nick. I make all sorts of free Forex content here on YouTube, sharing my trades, sharing tips and tricks like the one we're going to talk about today, and all sorts of other good Forex related content. If you are new here, please consider subscribing to the channel down below. If you're looking to improve as a trader, I've got a ton of free stuff here on the channel to help you out. So diving into today's lesson, which is going to be talking about should you trail your stops? Should you move, when a trade goes in your favor, should you move your stops either to break even or moving them into profit? I'm going to share some of the pros, some of the cons, and I'm going to share about what I personally do in my own trading regarding this topic. So let's go ahead and dive into it. So the idea is that when or if a trade moves into your favor, right? If you're shorting the market, for example, and the market moves down in the direction that you want it to move, should you at some point move your stops to break even, or is this going to hurt your trading performance? The idea here is that this is very important in considering your winning trades, right? So a lot of times people are looking just to get the perfect entry, but it's actually also very important that you manage your risk and that you also control your winning trades well. So let's say that you have a trade and you're short in the market, right? So for whatever reason, price comes up to a level, let's say, and you decide you'd like to short the market. You have a sell trade on the chart, and the market starts going in your favor, right? So the market is moving in your direction. Let's say that you have your stop out above here, right? So you have a stop loss in play, and let's say that you have a target here, right? So you have a take profit in this market. You have, let's say that you have a single take profit and the market is starting to move in your direction. Should you or should you not move your stop towards break even at a certain point? Now, at the end of the day, I don't want to say that there's a hard, clear answer that you definitely should or you definitely should not when it comes to this concept. A lot of times when you go through forums and YouTube comments and sort of things, people will tell you that you should do this or that you should not do this. And they have these kind of definite answers that they've come to conclusions with themselves. There's not a hard, fast, certain answer when it comes to should you trail your stops. In fact, it really comes down to preference. And let me tell you what I mean by that. So if the market moves in your favor, sometimes people have a really hard time psychologically watching when a market will do something like this, right? It will start to go in their favor and then quickly start to reverse, coming back and hitting their stop loss. And psychologically, that certainly can be very, very taxing. Doing that again and again and watching the market reverse on you can certainly be very, very tough psychologically to deal with, especially if it happens quite often, which a lot of times when you're going for that nice risk to reward can happen, right? The market just happens to reverse before hitting your take profit, stopping you out of the trade. So one way to combat this, and one way that sometimes people like to do, is as a trade moves in your favor, right? Traders will move stops to break even. What I mean by that is that you take your stop loss that was up here and you move it right around here. So now your stop loss is just around the break even point and you've locked in this trade. Well, what do I mean by lock in? Well, at this point, if the market reverses, then you can't really lose, right? Because the market has, you've already set your risk back to break even, meaning that if you get out here, then you neither make much money or you don't lose very much money either, right? So that you have this situation where you can let the market either decide to continue towards your take profit, which would be great. That's what we want, right? Or if it decides to reverse, you lock in the risk, right? You take the risk off the table. And this is where, people will have the question, well, when do I move my stops to break even? And again, this is going to come down to what you decide to do. I can't tell you what's going to work best for you because different people have different styles and what psychologically works for them. There are more than one way to consistently profit in the Forex market. I know multiple traders with multiple different strategies that are successful. So don't listen to all the people in the comments and the forums that are telling you, well, you need to do it this way and you need to do it that way. Test these concepts for yourself. The purpose of these videos is for you to listen in, to you to learn these concepts, and then go test them and see what works for you in your own trading. So with that said, if the market starts moving in your direction, and you decide that you like the idea of moving your stops, well, you have a certain idea, you have a couple ideas that you could do. My personal opinion is you don't want to move your stop to break even too fast because this doesn't give the trade much room to breathe. What do I mean by that? Well, if you move your stops to break even just as price is starting to go your direction, you can very easily put your stop into a place where it's very likely to get hit, right? If you move your stop to break even almost immediately, then the market might just bounce back up and you're back out of the trade. So my opinion when talking about moving stops to break even is there are some times where I will like to do it, right? In my own short-term trading, if a trade goes in my favor and let's say it's towards the end of the week and I don't really want to risk a bunch of the money, right, over the weekend or that sort of thing, I'll just move stops to break even and I'll say, you know what, I'm just going to trail my stop and try and get out of this trade. Now this is the first concept is breaking even, right? Moving the stops to the point where you cannot lose very much money on the trade. And so where would I do that? Well, to me, there's a couple different ways. You could wait until price gets halfway to the target, right? So here's the halfway point between your entry, your sell trade, and your target, right? And let's say that price comes to this point. Well, at this point, you could take your stop loss and move it to break even. That's one way that you could do it. Sometimes people will wait more. They'll wait for price to go further. And that's just one scenario of one way that you could do it. When price gets halfway towards your take profit, you move your stops to break even so that you don't risk any more on the trade. There's other ways, and there's also ways that you could trail your stop further. For example, if price makes it 3/4 of the way, right? Now maybe what you do is that if price makes it 3/4 of the way towards your target, you move your stop again, right? And this is another scenario. Let's say that you move it up some amount. So now your stop loss is here, right? Now you've locked in not only break even, you can't lose money on the trade, but you've also locked in some of the profit. So at the bare minimum, you're going to take this profit on the trade, assuming the market doesn't gap like crazy past your stop loss, right? So this is ways that you can look into doing this. And what it's going to do is it's going to come down to kind of your psychology. Do you prefer to trail stops and reduce the chance of risking the full amount, or because the trade-off, right? There is a trade-off. Or do you prefer to keep your stop back here, don't move it, and allow the trade the full chance to go towards the take profit? Because as we know, the markets don't move straight up or straight down most of the time. Most of the time they move in waves. So if you move your stop, let's clear this up for a second. If you move your stop loss into place, right? You take your sell trade and the market moves in your favor, right? And you are too tight with your stop loss, this full take profit might have gotten hit, right? Let's say the market moves all the way towards our take profit, but you decide to trail your stop. Well, if you put your stop here, you just stopped out of a trade that actually ended up getting the full take profit. So this is the trade-off. People, again, will debate you should or should not do this, but you have to understand that there's not a clear, easy answer one way or the other. If you trail your stops, you increase the chance of getting stopped out because you're moving your stop closer and closer to price, but you lock in profits along the way. Guys, I want to hear from you. Comment down below. What do you think? Should you trail stops? Do you like to just move trades to break even? I want to hear you guys' input down in the comments below. Make sure you put it down below so we can all see what people are saying. Guys, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.